Made the old-fashioned way without added gluten and fast-rising yeast. Compared to other breads, sourdough may be easier to digest for those with a gluten sensitivity.
I started researching different types of foods that were giving me the most difficulty, and those included wheat, but also other grains. And I found that the fermentation component of sourdough, that bacterial component combined with the wild yeast, really helps to break down the things that are included in most grains that give us the most trouble. That includes both gluten, but also these other compounds called phytates, sometimes referred to as phytic acids. All very natural, but they can give some difficulties to certain types of people.
Owens, the author of the 2016 James Beard awarded cookbook Sourdough, explains that fermentation process really sets it apart.
Sourdough, it's this basic combination of flour and water. It's two very simple things. Flour is a very inert substance, but combined with water, we activate this sort of enzymatic process where the starches in the flour are converted to sugars and they become food for all those microbes. And then it starts growing and increasing, and we get these delicious byproducts of sort of acidic compounds that give us that very traditional sourdough taste.
The extra time fermenting means that more gluten is broken down. So for instance, a 2007 study found that that long fermentation process led to a reduction in gluten from 75,000 parts per million to only 12. And actually at 12, it qualifies for gluten-free.
The idea of sourdough being easier to digest is not a particularly new one. It really comes down to the process of how it's made.
The difference between sourdough and the regular sort of commercial yeast that you buy at the grocery store is that sourdough has two components to it. It has both a wild yeast that we harvest from the flour, our hands, the surface of things, but it also has a bacterial component. These two different microbes live together symbiotically in sort of a substrate of flour and water.
And the research is advancing. A recent study published by the National Center for Biotechnology Information tested volunteers with celiac disease on small amounts of specially prepared sourdough and found the subjects responded well. However, it's not time yet for those people to indulge.
It's way too soon for celiac disease because we don't have a standardization of the process, so we don't know from batch to batch if it will reduce gluten to that gluten-free level. However, those with gluten sensitivity, they may want to consider it because it may be the decrease in gluten or the decrease in breakdown of those starches that are difficult to digest.
In New York, Laura Ingle, Fox News.